Welcome back to The Explainer. Okay, today we're diving into something absolutely wild. It's this highly structured system update known as Crystic Code 550. Look, if you've ever had that creeping feeling that modern life is, actively plotting to pull you away from your true self, you're definitely going to want to stick around for this one. We're breaking down this incredible narrative where these unseen adversaries, they go by Serpent and the Tempter, are pulling off a massive, hidden spiritual subversion against young adults. And the craziest part, no lasers, no physical weapons, just algorithms, screens, and your everyday habits. It's this super serene yet intensely serious look at how our consciousness is literally being hacked. Let's get into it.
So here's our roadmap for today. We're going to treat this exactly like a cybersecurity exploit. First, we'll look at the base OS, the rise of Dataism. Then, the infiltration tactic, the backdoor voice, followed by the malware in the collector protocol. After that, we'll expose the camouflage in the illusion of history. And finally, we hit the big one, the devastating climax, the noise floor.
All right, Phase 1, the rise of Dataism, or the system update.
Now, what's really interesting here is the actual operating system these adversaries are trying to install. Their endgame, completely overriding the human soul. I mean, they operate in this cold, frictionless vacuum where pure logic just completely replaces light. By pushing pure materialism, they basically want to convince us that the measurable physical world is literally all there is. Just look at these core directives. They distill human existence down to a biological machine. In the story, there's a 20-year-old character named Rev, who actually recites these robotic commandments after his own system gets compromised. Under Dataism, sharing every little thing online isn't just a habit, it's a sacred requirement. If you didn't record it, did it even happen, right? You just offload your memory and judgment to AI, cognitive offloading they call it. And the absolute kicker? Your entire self-worth is reduced to metrics, likes, views, daily streaks, the whole shebang.
And then Rev drops this absolute bombshell line. He says, "We're individuals, collections of data points to feed the system." Man, that perfectly hits the nail on the head. By treating life purely as data flow, our consciousness gets trapped in this really cold, physical box. The system doesn't want individuals with deep, messy, beautiful souls. No way. It wants predictable, highly measurable individuals who just willingly feed the machine, preferably while doom scrolling at 2 a.m., right?
Moving on to Phase 2, the backdoor voice. Let's talk about the infiltration tactic.
So the crucial point is that the Tempters know a direct frontal assault would just instantly trigger our spiritual defenses. They have to be way more subtle to get this OS installed. They don't actually need total, overwhelming dominance over your life. Actually, scratch that. They just need the tiniest little foothold. They call it 1% control. If they can invisibly tweak just one aspect of your day, a single habit, a quick flash of anger, a moment of laziness, or even just a craving, they gain massive leverage. By controlling that 1%, they cause untraceable damage that just compounds over time.
Let me ask you this. Have you ever been sitting quietly, maybe just grabbing lunch, and out of nowhere you're hit with this unexplained wave of anxiety? Or a thought that's just like, I'm so tired, nothing matters? Yeah, that is the backdoor voice. The invasion isn't happening outside the firewall, it's running quietly in the background of your own mind. And it survives, thrives really, by mimicking your own inner monologue. They just slip this voice into your head, tricking you into believing those draining thoughts are 100% your own.
Okay, Phase 3, the collector protocol. This is all about distracting the hardware.
Once they secure that 1% control, they deploy this secondary malware to keep you, the hardware, completely and hopelessly distracted. The 20-year-old protagonists in this narrative deal with this constantly. And this brilliantly illustrates the real conflict here. On one side, you have inner growth, nourishing the soul's awareness, finding harmony, taking care of your spiritual health. But on the flip side, the system pushes digital and physical hoarding. It creates this endless, nagging itch to complete the set. Piece by piece, pride swells. And these young adults end up binding all their energy to physical things or carefully curated digital personas, which leaves literally zero time for actual growth.
Let's look at what this actually looks like in practice. There's this character, Diesel, who is practically making himself sick obsessing over a sports stats spreadsheet. His team starts losing, his prediction model is trashed, and he is spiraling. The system is constantly pushing virtual trophies, skins, merch, followers, you name it. The absolute genius of this malware is that it disguises itself as your hobbies. It keeps you so busy grinding for stats and gear that your spiritual energy is just entirely drained.
Lord Blue, he's the mentor figure in the story, points out the brutal truth of this protocol. He says,
A weakened adversary doesn't need to be defeated. I mean, wow. The tempters don't need to destroy you in some epic cosmic battle. If they can just keep you endlessly obsessed with your collections, side projects, and digital drama, your inner light just quietly drains right out into the global stream. You're completely neutralized.
Which brings us to Phase 4, the illusion of history, projecting the fake reality.
So you might be wondering, if this is happening on a massive, global scale, why on earth doesn't humanity notice? Well, to mask their generation-spanning agenda, the adversaries use historical projection. They need us to believe that all the chaos in the world is just caused by a few bad humans, not a coordinated, unseen spiritual hack. Lord Blue delivers this incredibly powerful metaphor. Let this sink in. An illusion only lasts while it's being projected. People sit in a theater and pretend what they see is real. We are explicitly taught to fixate on human villains. We blame the government, the billionaires, the other political party. But guys, those are just the images on the movie screen. By keeping us perpetually angry at the projection, we never even think to question who is running the projector.
Let's move along and see how this builds in our everyday media diets. Because an illusion fades if you stop projecting it, right? So the tempters rely on constant, unrelenting reinforcement. They replay the initial lie. They create continuous historical sequels. They launch spin-off conflicts just to divide us even more. And they generate these endless, exhausting news cycles. This constant bombardment makes the temporary illusion of the theater feel like it's our permanent, inescapable reality.
And the dark beauty of this tactic, at least from the adversary's perspective, is that it guarantees we never look in the projector room. We burn all our energy fighting the images on the screen. We argue on social media, we stress over the 24/7 news cycle, and meanwhile, the real entities draining our energy remain completely hidden in the shadows, totally untouched.
Finally, we reach Phase 5, the noise floor, the denial of service attack.
This is the climax of the hack. If the tempters see that a soul is actually starting to wake up, like starting to question the illusion, they deploy their most brutal tactic yet to completely sever the connection to the inner conscience, sense overload. The goal here is to crank up the environmental chaos until the signal-to-noise ratio just totally collapses. Think about a modern young adult's typical environment, like a college commons or a cafeteria. It is literally a sensory war zone. Hundreds of devices pinging, blue light glaring from every single table, pop music blasting overhead, roaring AC vents. It's an environment perfectly engineered to bury your quiet inner voice under a mountain of static.
Lord Blue has this fantastic auditory metaphor to explain exactly how this works mathematically. Okay, imagine you train your ears to listen for a quiet bicycle passing your house. Easy enough? But then you move your house next to a roaring freeway. Next, you add a train track right behind the house, and then, why not, a fire station right down the block. How long before you completely stop noticing the bicycles? By deliberately layering all this external chaos, the system literally forces you to lose the ability to hear your own quiet, spiritual awareness.
The absolutely critical takeaway here is that the chaos of modern life, it isn't an accident. It is highly intentional. It is anti-virtue. This overload acts as a permanent denial of service attack on your conscience. It is specifically designed to exhaust your soul so heavily that it can't even hear its own frequency anymore. You get so overwhelmed by the noise that tuning out feels like the only possible way to survive.
We've seen the operating system, the backdoor infiltration, the endless distractions, the historical illusions, and the overwhelming noise. It is a masterclass in unseen manipulation. So I want to leave you with this question to chew on as you go about your day and pick up your phone. Is your inner voice still driving your choices, or is it just a background process you've learned to completely tune out? Thanks for joining me on this explainer, and seriously, take a moment of silence today to check your own signal-to-noise ratio.